And then he somehow found a way to let it slip that he thought Eric was cute. He said something like, "Sue always has such cute friends and you're no exception." He said this while touching his arm, like reaching forward and also getting closer, almost like he was trying to get in position for a kiss. So then, Han asked Eric if he had many good dates with men in Korea. Eric said, "No, I haven't had many good dates here yet." So then, let me read this one. Han says, "Let's make tonight the first."
What did he say?
What's up, idols? It's CC Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. Today we got a first on this channel. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today is the first story time we've ever gotten from a queer viewer in Korea. He said for this story time he wants to be Prince Eric. Bless. Handsome Prince Eric. This story time is going to get into one of the ultimate betrayals. I don't know how these stories keep getting more and more outrageous. If you're watching this video, please leave a like. I would love to see if I could ever get a video where the likes and the views match each other. Also, please watch this story all the way into the end. It really helps promote the video with the watch hours and the algorithm. You guys have all the power. Viewer duration is key. Engagement is key. Leave comments, leave a like, subscribe, and I really want to thank my channel members. You see their names on the screen. I have a bunch of playlists on my channel. Please binge my videos. They take a lot of work to edit and put together, and they're there. They just exist for your watching. So first I want to ask you guys a question of the day. If you knew that someone you really cared about was being hurt, lied to, betrayed in any way, would you tell them? On one hand, it's like, I don't want to get involved. I'm going to drink water and mind my business.
It's none of my business, none of my business, none of my business what you do.
On the other hand, it's like you're enabling bad behavior and you want the people you care about to be happy, right? So like, what do you do? And as we get into the story, you will see why that is a very relevant question. So Eric is an English teacher currently in the Jeollanam province. He said that he is almost done with his contract in Korea, then he's off to Japan, but he wanted to spill some tea before he goes. He said every now and then he would head up to Seoul for like some clubbing or if there's some festival or a concert or something. But for the most part, he liked a really low-key environment, especially given that he is an openly gay man. And in South Korea, it's not like it's illegal or anything, but it's very shamed. It's not acknowledged or addressed in any way. He said a lot of people have the misconception that like the queer community, LGBTQIA, LGBTQ+, people have this idea that it's a Western phenomenon. But he said this story will show you there's a lot of people all over the world who are just low-key and down low about it, and they pretend to not be gay. I just want to start off by saying, personally, I've always been of the mind that whatever consenting adults choose to do is none of my business. That is whatever makes you happy, because happiness is in short supply. So if you are happy, congratulations, because happiness is hard to find. And instead of other people who should be out there focusing on their own happiness, they instead want to try and make other people as miserable and unhappy as they are, because, well, misery does love company. So like in Korea, like I said, it's not illegal or anything to be gay, but there are no laws or anything really that acknowledges and accepts these people's existence, and it's really frustrating to see. You do have Homo Hill in Itaewon, which I hate that name for it, I really do. And I do remember going to Pride in 2018, but it was met with so many counter protesters with, you know, religious signs calling you sinners, and it's like you didn't have nothing better to do on a Saturday afternoon than come out here and spread hate. So anywho, sorry, that was a mini rant. My bad, that just got to me, sorry. Anyway, Eric is really good friends with like his co-workers, and that's usually how it goes when you're an English teacher. And he had one really good friend, we'll call her Sua, for example, and he said given the conservative nature of South Korea, he didn't let too many people know about who he really is, but Sua, she does know. He spent a lot of time with her. He said, you know, because they're not in a major city like Seoul or Gwangju or Busan or Daejeon or Daegu or Incheon, there's not a lot of people his age that he could hang out with. So him and Sua would often meet up for like karaoke nights, dinner nights, movie nights, to go out drinking, just to spend a lot of time together. They spent a lot of time together. So on one of the hangouts, Eric was invited by Sua to go up to Seoul to hang out, because normally when he goes up to Seoul, he kind of goes by himself and just wanders and explores, visits some cafes, go to a concert, and then goes back to Jeollanam. So he was happy to have someone to hang out with in Seoul. Now, Sua was going up to Seoul to visit her fiance. We're gonna call him Han in the story. Han is sus as fuck. So because it's a bit of a long distance relationship, Sua would go up to Seoul to visit Han, and it was the weekend, so she wouldn't spend the whole weekend with him. So she said, hey, Eric, do you want to come up and hang out with me? We can go get brunch, we can go get some dinner or something, and we can hang out in Seoul and get into something. So, you know, Sua was recently engaged, and Eric, wanting the best for her, absolutely wanted to meet the fiance, just like every friend does. When you find out your friend has a new boyfriend or your friend has a new girlfriend, you want to get the details and see for yourself who they really are. Suwa drove them up to Seoul for the weekend, and they had plans to meet up for a Sunday brunch, and this was the brunch where he was finally gonna get to meet her fiance Han. So yeah, now it's just them three. They're having brunch, and Eric was immediately surprised by how good Han's English was. And Han said, oh yeah, you know, I studied abroad in Australia for a few years, and I always like to practice and keep up the English skills because one day I might want to leave Korea. I like places to be more like open-minded and accepting and diverse. Han doesn't like how conservative Korea is, which is fair. All three of them are talking and everything, and he's talking with Suwa. They're catching up, and because, you know, Suwa's here like, so this is my fiance, so, you know, tell me about your love life, Eric. How's it been? And Eric mentions he hasn't had many successful dates with guys in Korea. So with that, suddenly Han's looking at him like, dating guys. Eric couldn't tell if it was like a judgmental thing or a misunderstanding thing or a curiosity thing, but suddenly Han is staring at Eric. So after staring while they got more into the conversation, Han outright asked Eric, oh, are you gay? And Suwa tried to like shush like the situation because she knows he's not open about it and how awkward it is. But Eric was like, yeah, I am. Like, he's not ashamed of it. And after that, Han didn't say another word. He just shut down. He just stopped talking. So yeah, now it's really awkward, right? So with the conclusion of brunch, they part ways. They part ways with Han, and then Suwa and Eric head back down to Jeolnam because it's quite the drive. So while they're in the car, Suwa's apologizing for her fiance's rudeness and how he was just bold and blunt, like, oh, are you gay? And staring, and then just got quiet. And Eric wasn't really sure what to make of that. He didn't know if it was like an uncomfortable silence or like a hateful sort of silence. So he was like, oh, you know, aside from that, he does seem like he's a really good fit for you. You know, you seem happy. The way you look at him, you light up. I just hope he becomes a bit more accepting in the future. So for the most part, life goes back to normal. Several weeks goes by. Suwa and Eric are having one of their typical movie night weekend hangouts at Suwa's house when suddenly Han makes an appearance, an unexpected, unannounced surprise appearance. Now, like I said before, normally Suwa goes up to Seoul to visit Han, so she was not expecting him to just show up at her door like, hey honey, I'm surprised. Oppa, what's up? And you know this is awkward because the last time they all hung out was an awkward brunch where Han just stopped talking after he found out Eric was gay. So Eric's like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go home now because I don't want to be a third wheel and I think he hates me, so I'm gonna go. But suddenly, Han was a lot more friendly and welcoming towards Eric. I wonder what happened. Eric kind of wanted to assume that maybe after their talk in the car coming down, that Suwa had a talk with Han like, you know, you should start accepting people and stop being so judgmental. He's not hurting anyone, he's just living his life, he is who he is. And he thought maybe that was the kind of conversation they had because suddenly Han was really, really friendly and nice to him. Like, Eric was fully ready to excuse himself and go home, but Han is one like, no, you should stay, we should have fun. I bought plenty of drinks for everybody, we can all have a good night. Especially given the fact that the weather was so bad outside, Suwa was kind of worried about him going home by himself in the evening like this. With Han's blessing, Suwa's encouragement, Eric said, fuck it, cool, I'll stay. So it's gonna be a cozy night where they were gonna drink, watch some movies, talk, eat some takeout, and have some fun bonding. And this was indeed progress. Like, they got so comfortable to the fact that Eric said, hey, you know, Han, like, you're a pretty cool dude, we should keep in touch, like, let's exchange cacaos. And Han agreed. And Sue was just sitting there watching like her fiance, her betrothed, her beloved, getting along with a guy who a few weeks ago he was pretty hostile towards. It's a beautiful thing to see, a good friend of mine getting along with my fiance, so she was really happy. Now here is where the story escalates. Sue is a small girl. You know, a lot of Korean girls are pretty tiny on the petite side, meaning they don't drink as much before they feel the litty effects of it. So after a while, Sue was kind of shutting down a little bit. And Eric started to notice that the drunker Suwa got, the more personal and intimate Han's questions for Eric got. How long have you been gay? When did you first know? Have you slept with many people? And even asking him what intimacy is like with another person of the same gender. Now at first Eric said he didn't mind because he's like, you know, in all realization and honesty, Eric was thinking, you know, I might be the first gay person that Han has ever met or known or talked to, so he's probably curious, he has a lot of questions, and at least he's getting, you know, info directly from someone instead of making assumptions or, you know, reading a book written by someone who's hateful. You know what I mean? Like, at least he's trying to get some first person perspective. That's the way he saw it at the time.
It's gonna change soon.
Not only were these questions so personal, he also started to kind of like get closer to him as he asked him these questions. And Suwa wasn't really like here to keep Han in check or shut some stuff down because she was gone. She was in a galaxy far, far away, gone off the soju. So to give himself a break or excuse himself from the awkwardness, Eric said, hey, I'm gonna go outside for a cigarette break. Suwa, I'll be back. And Suwa's like, okay, yeah, cool. Han decides he wants a cigarette break as well. And this sucks because Eric said low-key he was planning to just excuse himself for a cigarette and just go home and just not go back upstairs. But then when Han came out too, things got more awkward. So he comes down, he asks Eric if he has a lighter, and then the personal questions just continue. But he had reached this boiling point. Eric finally said, look, I get that you might have a lot of questions because you aren't used to meeting people like me, but these are pretty personal, private questions I don't want to answer anymore. And he was honest and said he was getting uncomfortable. So then Han apologizes and he blames it on the alcohol. And then he somehow found a way to let it slip that he thought Eric was cute. He says something like, Sue always has such cute friends and you're no exception. He said this while touching his arm, like reaching forward and also getting closer, almost like he was trying to get in position for a kiss. So then Han asked Eric if he had many good dates with men in Korea. Eric said, no, I haven't had many good dates here yet. So then, let me read this one. Han says, let's make tonight the first.
What did he say?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Eric laughed, thinking it was like a bad drunken attempt at a joke. He's like, my best friend's fiance, haha, what a kidder. But, you know, he's laughing and looking at him and he's Nick Fury. Daryl Dixon in the face, not a hint of a smile. He meant that. So, you know, Eric's like, you should go back upstairs to your fiance, Sua. Like, bro, she's waiting for you. And then Han explained how things with Sua are kind of awkward and it doesn't quite feel right. Which begs the question, why did you even propose? So Eric's giving, you know, half-hearted cliche responses like, you know, communication is key. You should tell her how you feel about this. Maybe seek a counselor. He's like, why are you telling me this? You should go tell your fiance you're having these feelings. So then Han said to Eric that he doesn't know if he's gay or not. And he said he wants to see and find out before he marries Sua. So with that, Eric left. He didn't go back upstairs. He just messaged Sua and said, it's late. I'm not feeling well. I think I drank too much. I'm gonna go home. Good night. Eric went home hoping and wanting to believe this was just a drunken mishap and Han was just not himself because he had so much to drink. Sua was genuinely really happy with him. You know, it sucks seeing your, for all intents and purposes, best friend so happy with a guy who is not being completely honest with her about how he feels and about who he wants. So the next day, Sua messaged him apologizing for drinking so much, not really remember what's going on, and says she hopes everything wasn't awkward after the brunch. And even though she doesn't remember the night, she hopes that he had a lot of fun anyway. So Eric had every intention to just forget that night, forget the encounter, forget Han. If he's ever brought up, just disregard and be like, yeah, so anyway. So the schoolwork we gotta get done. But guys, let's not forget that before things went to shit, Eric gave Han his number.
Things just got out of hand.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And Han did in fact contact him again. He asked if anything weird happened that night, not to tell Sua, and that he's not gay, he was just pretending. Forget everything that happened. So Eric is like, you know, I think Sua needs to know you're having these thoughts and these feelings before you do something mostly permanent by Korean standards like getting married. It's not fair to, you know, have her enter this marriage so happily, especially if it's potentially one-sided. So Han has the audacity to say, Eric, you can help us. I just need one night with you to know how I feel. So one of the reasons Eric didn't know how to or want to tell Sua about this was because he had no proof. You know, it was his word against her fiance's. With these text messages, he has some proof. Albeit a bit vague, it adds credibility to the story, the narrative of what happened that night. So Eric did decide to tell Sua what happened.
Expose him! Expose him!
He said he didn't get into all the details, but he did try to leave Sua with the impression that she should have a talk with Han about, do you really want to get married with me? Do you want to date other people first and then come back to this later? He explained that he just wants her to be happy, he wants what's best for her, and just to be absolutely sure that Han wants the same. So after that, Eric and Sua stayed really good friends. Nothing really changed with her and his dynamic. And also, Han and Sua are still engaged, so he doesn't know if she ever even had the talk with him at all. It's almost like all of that never happened. Now, that begs the question, did Han get it out of his system? Did he find some other guy to mess around with to validate his feelings for Sua? Or is he living a double life doing both? secret agent style, and using Sua as a cover. He said a lot of conservative countries like Korea want to believe the queer community is a Western thing and a Western concept, but the reality is conservatives are low-key and sneaky with it. They exist everywhere, but since people shame and hate us for no reason, a lot of us have to go into hiding. I genuinely want to thank Eric. Thank you so much for you know, stories like this are very personal, and I don't know how these story times just keep getting wilder and wilder, but y'all are living lives out there. Y'all need to write some books. Thank you, Eric, for being so vulnerable with this and honest. Thank you so much for this perspective, because this is a very unique situation, something I've never been able to tell or talk about or get any sort of insight about on this channel or in my life before. Thanks for watching. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Annyeong.